Hey folks, so fun times, fun times. Um, I just want to share a few things with you in case you were feeling the same way I am. So I was in yoga class the other day, and I haven't done yoga in a long time, entirely too long. But about halfway through the class, I was really in my feelings, and I had to control myself because I was about to burst into tears um, because being triggered left, right, and center these days. So, and there is a genuine terror that we are heading in directions and down dark roads that we may never recover from. So it's pretty bad, even when you can see what you think is the future and the bigger picture. We're still here in the here and now with it right here in our face, and the future's not guaranteed. So it can be a lot. And also because Saturn is at 29 Pisces, those last degrees Pisces, there's all sorts of questions about what happens next, what's the next move here. So I was listening to some YouTube clips this morning and watching the news, and apparently there's a plantation in Louisiana called Nottoway Plantation that burned down, caught fire in the south wing, and apparently destroyed the building. It's a huge plantation, huge. um, and the fire that broke out did so much damage that recovery and repair is going to be impossible. That plantation house is gone now. Now, the thing about this particular plantation house is for a long time, it's been offered as a tourist attraction. Um, people have, the antebellum South sort of thing, anyway, people have had weddings there. It's been an Airbnb, or a B&B rather, all sorts of stuff where people have literally made it a point to go out to this place to celebrate the architecture and the beauty, of this antebellum South plantation home. Now, I have to say, the architecture is outstanding. It is physically a beautiful home, but it is also built on torture and blood, right? So, I think that says a lot when we're so driven by what we see that we're willing to overlook the ugliness that's inside something or that it's built on. The same goes for people too. We see this all the time. Um, so, needless to say, there's two camps on this issue about how to feel about this. And there's a whole lot of people who are not unhappy to see this symbol of this United States slavery and Southern history, that particular part of it, go away finally, like removed from sight. Um, and then, of course, there's a whole other group that's like, well, this is our history, and that's a historic site, and people need to get over it, and blah blah blah, and somebody made a good point. If this was Auschwitz, you don't see people building B&Bs on top of, those graves, right? Um, so it's interesting. So the thing about it is, like, I'm hearing this, and somebody mentioned the ancestors. The ancestors have spoken, and I'm like, ooh, you know what? There may be more than a little truth to this. So I looked up the aspects. I'm like, has Saturn left Pisces yet? Is it in Aries yet? Well, my friends, no, it's not. Saturn is at 29 degrees, 38 minutes. It's like minutes away from changing signs and leaving Pisces forever. Well, for 12 years. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Oh, this really is a sign. This is a sign. So the thing to understand is that right now we are dealing with a huge struggle in mass consciousness. Like, we are literally moving. Evolution is dragging us, pulling us, pushing us forward, whether we want to go or not. There's a whole bunch of people who are not served by evolution clearly, and not served by progress and progressiveness and moving into the future, because they want the world to be what they want it to be, which is their fantasies of a white Christian nation, right, where men ruled. And we see what a great job the men have done being left in charge without accountability all these generations. I've got a really good book I want you guys to read. I'm going to link it below, and also a very good video about this plantation and its history, which is actually kind of funny. It'll make you laugh. They did a really good job of making this video. And I'll put a link to that in the description box below. So I recommend you go see it. Anyway, so the thing about it is, right now it's a struggle to keep our wits about us, because every time we turn around, it's like one more outlandish, inhumane, ridiculous, like, power grab after another. I almost broke down in tears in the middle of a yoga class. because I'm terrified. I'm absolutely terrified. But when you pull back, right, the signs are there. We've got to look for the signs. Okay. And, the literally destruction of this god awful representation of plantation slavery in the South, disappearing on the last degree, last minutes of Pisces is literally like a message from the universe, the ancestors, that all of this needs to go. All we need to purge all of the mentality that went into making that thing exist, right? And that the time period that surrounded it and embraced it. Okay. A whole lot of people aren't happy about this, but you know what? I mean, what kind of person would celebrate dancing on other people's graves? I'm just saying. So, and think about that before you defend it, right? So there's that. And also, too, the timing of things is very important, obviously, because this is astrology. But think about what's happening right now with all of the natural disasters. We just had huge, I think, hurricanes and tornadoes that like ripped through Kentucky and a whole bunch of other places. And this is not the first. This is I think the second or third now in a row across the country where these natural disasters have been occurring. And in this particular instance, like 27 people died, right? Because they defunded NOAA, the National Organization of, I don't know, the weather people, right? So there was literally no one on overnight to warn the residents that this was about to happen. And the people that were remaining working there that had not been pulled by Elon Musk and his Doge group and the Trump administration were pulling double shifts as best they could, staying in the building to try and help. And this is still where we ended up. So, in many ways, Mother Nature, or the great divine, or the goddess, whatever it is you want to call it, is literally trying to show us that they're there, they're watching, they're supporting us as best they can, but also, too, they're laying bare and exposing exactly what we're dealing with. So many of us are brainwashed, right? So when you think about, and if you want to know how easily you could be brainwashed, like literally ask yourself this and think about people you know, right? How often do you accept as truth or fact a belief about someone, some things, or a group of people that you have had no personal exposure to, right? No personal experience with, all based on what people have told you and little visual clips, right? And reinforcements of this thing, right? That you've been given without any personal knowledge or interaction or understanding of who these people are, right? We've been dealing with this for a long, long time. So women in particular will understand this, like women who look a certain way, dress a certain way, are specific races, right? There is this brainwashing that occurs in other cultures where these people assume that because you look like this, you are that, you're this race, that, well, of course you blah, 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 which is ridiculous. But that's a form of brainwashing when you accept that and just assume that that's a fact. Okay. And we see a lot of it happening. We're seeing it now. And now the big thing with the MAGA people is this black fatigue. Like, really? Oh my God, dude, you want to talk about being tired of somebody? Listen, sit down, because we got days and days and days and weeks. Let me tell you how tired we are of your nonsense. Um, but a lot of this is literally brainwashing that's being reinforced and has been reinforced through the media, especially since the Reagan administration. Um, Over and over and over again, it's gotten to the point where people believe stuff about people they don't even know. They literally have never met them. They don't understand the culture. They don't understand history. And it's brainwashing when people try to introduce additional information or information that might conflict with what you believe to be true based on what you've been told, not what you've personally experienced or understand, like deeply understand, and you're fighting it off, right? No, 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 of course she's a slut and she got raped. She was wearing a mini skirt, for God's sakes, right? You know, no, but okay, right? So there's a whole lot of brainwashing that goes on that we've got to get out of in order for us to evolve and move forward. Again, mass consciousness. So right now, the signs are there. Don't believe the hype that this is the sign of end times. It's not. It may be the end of the world as some people know it or knew it, but it's not the end of times. We're moving forward. Evolution is happening. We're going with it, or we're not, or we're going to go extinct like the dinosaurs. But ultimately, the universe, the goddess, Mother Nature, all of these forces at play, the ancestors, they are literally giving us signs that they're here and they're helping, and they're laying bare literally exactly who and what we're dealing with finally. So we're snapping out of this brainwashed mental condition we've been in for generations. So don't despair. We're going to get through this. Remember also too, Saturn is at the last degree and minutes away from changing signs. So we've still got a little bit more to go in terms of communications from the ancestors. Talk to you later.